Nou, nou.
Sanbonani Dumilang, good morning and goeiemorgen. Welcome on day 166 of lockdown to Mill Park Business School's first episode in our Leaders of Africa webinar series for the month of September. And friends, our guest today is York Chuki, who will share insights and practical tips on how to start and grow a business in COVID times. So York is the chairperson of the Center for Unconventional Entrepreneurship, a global initiative to improve how SMEs are supported. And York's experience spans over 27 years in business, working in over 11 countries, and his work in partnerships with organizations across the world has supported SMEs in over 83 countries. So, colleagues, his experience is around access to markets, and his latest project is around democratizing access to entrepreneurial knowledge for 10 million young people in Africa. And to top it all, he believes he drinks too much coffee. And that's why we get along so well. I've got the similar problem. But York, wonderful having you here today. We're looking forward to what you have to share with us with your years and years of experience. And colleagues, all I can say is prepare to be amazed. So I'm going to hand over to York and stand back into the shadows. Over to you, York. Thanks.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here. I am just reminding everyone, this is a very practical session around how to start and grow a business in COVID times, but specifically focused for students or graduates and alumni. We're not talking about people who've been in the workspace for many, many years, although I'm sure you can learn some things. I'd like, if possible today, that you come out with practical things you can do immediately to make either your dreams become a reality or get your small business idea a little bit more traction. I focus, and my passion is very much around the access to market, which is a very fancy way of saying how to find clients. Because I believe in the old cliche that if you don't have clients, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. So I'm going to structure today as follows. I'm going to do literally a 30-second background to myself, so you have some context as to who I am. And then we go straight into it. And I'm going to give you a lot of knowledge and experience and observations and research that is applicable to you immediately. But perhaps I'm looking also, forgive me if I'm looking also at the text. So I'm seeing that Sean, Erica, Pragneshka, Romila, Spitlana, all of you welcome. And I'm not obviously saying everybody or hello to everybody. You're most welcome to put questions in there. I'll try to remember the questions. If they're pertinent to the topic that we're touching base on, I'll gladly answer them immediately. But I think the nicest thing would be perhaps to start, if you could all write in the text field, at what phase are you in your business? And by this, I mean, for example, are you in idea phase? So you haven't started yet, but you have an idea. Are you in the early days startup phase? Are you in the, I've started already, I have some traction, I want to grow phase? So if you can just write idea, startup, or growing, just to give me a sense of what you are, in what phase of your business are. Francois says ideas, thank you. And everybody else is typing slowly. But idea, Angela, idea, Kobus, idea phase. Romilla, idea as well. Eric, idea. Awesome. Ella, Praneshka, perfect. So we are all on the same page. Fantastic. So 30 seconds about me, just to give you context. I'm originally from Switzerland. And for those who don't know, in Switzerland, they surgically remove your sense of humor at birth. So now you'll understand why my jokes fall flat. The second thing is I worked in a lot of companies around the world. I think 9 different companies in 11 countries. I got fired 5 times. 2 times I quit just before they could fire me. And 2 times I made enough money. The last post was in London at a company called Goldman Sachs. And my colleague was a guy called Jim O'Neill, and he was the one who coined the term BRICS. And I told him, I want to make an impact. I'm tired of banking. And he says, why don't you consider Africa? The world's attention is turning towards Africa. So in 2007, I packed my bag and I landed in Johannesburg. And because I come from big corporate, I know everything. I started 6 businesses, 5 of which failed within 9 months. So if any of you want to know how to destroy your business quickly, I'm also an expert in this. The other business, the 6th business, ended up employing 1,800 people and became Africa's biggest sub-Saharan primary healthcare group. I started other initiatives, and it really doesn't matter now what I did, but a lot of it evolved around entrepreneurship because I saw entrepreneurship as the way to fix the world. Let's be honest here. There are no more jobs out there. You might be applying for a couple of jobs here and there, and maybe you're lucky you get a job. But I can tell you 2 things. One, having a job is no riskier than starting your own business. You think that when the company goes through tough times, they're not going to retrench you? They're going to keep your job for life? No. So today we're really going to touch on entrepreneurship as really the only way for you to own your destiny. And it's scary, it's exciting, it's a bit of a roller coaster, but today I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how you can reduce the risk and also increase the chances of succeeding. So on that note, knowing that entrepreneurship is the future, how do we tackle this beast? How do we start a business? Most of you are in the idea phase. I only see Ella is on the startup phase. So one of the trickiest things within a business idea is that we, especially we entrepreneurs, having now been an entrepreneur myself and through the work that I do, supported entrepreneurs in over 83 countries, is that we think we've just invented the wheel. We think our idea, this brilliant thing that we came up with, is going to change the world if only somebody would invest in us. Now, I sit on a couple of government funds. We invest in startups. It's called the Innovation Hub, and you're most welcome to apply there. But the reality is that funding is going to be less and less, especially at the early days of your idea, when it's still in your head. If you look at the life cycle of an idea to business, you have idea phase, when you have startup, 1 or 2 clients, then you grow, then you go much more, then you have a phase where it slows down, and then you have a business rescue phase. And so in the idea phase, there isn't that much money. It's what people call venture capital, or angel investors rather. And those are people who really believe in you. The idea might be nice, but actually they really believe in you. But it's not easy to get money, and certainly not a lot of money. So today I want to really touch on, or make the assumption that all of you are struggling with resources, getting access to funding, which is the good news, because some of the best innovators, some of the most phenomenal entrepreneurs in the world came out of resource-constrained environments. They didn't have wealthy families. They didn't come from an incredible background that opened all the doors. But here's the good news. We live in resource-constrained environment. This is the best time to be an entrepreneur. And as surprising as it may sound, I'll show you why. Where we're moving in society with decentralization, democratization, whether it's blockchain or it's not entirely true, but Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram, the technology is pushing us more and more away from I have to belong to a big company in order to be visible. We live in a time which allows you for absolutely no money to be top of mind to potential customers and potential investors. So that I hope sounds reasonably interesting, but how do you start? Now, the first thing, since a lot of you are in the idea phase of your business, is that you've got to get out of your head. You think you have a great idea, but even me with 27 years of business experience, when I come up with a new project like the Startup Tribe, which we launched a couple of weeks ago, I did a pilot. I did a landing page about 3 months ago. I created a course. I loaded it up. I checked out what people thought about it. It didn't cost me anything other than my time and a bit of effort. I got feedback, a bit of traction. I did the second course. And so we built it up on prototyping. Now, this is the beautiful thing. Depending on what your business idea is, you need to prototype if there's an interest in the market. And the only way you know if your business idea is good or bad is if your potential customers give you feedback. You cannot live in isolation. You can't be in your head and figure everything out. That's tantamount to developing a phenomenal car with one wheel, which nobody wants. So you spend 5 years developing this incredible car, you launch it on the market, and lo and behold, nobody wants it. So I invite you today to do something very simple. The first thing that I invite you to do is to look at, for example, your email signature. And just trust me where we're going on this. If you're like everybody or most people, your email signature, when you send an email at the bottom, is probably blank, or it says send from iPhone, send from Android or Samsung or Outlook. Now, what if your email signature said what you're solving with your business idea? I'll give you a practical example. Let's say I'm passionate about designing websites. But designing website is useless. Everybody's a website designer. So in my email signature, I go, I'm not a web designer. I help small retail shops to go online and generate more sales. Interested? Click here now. So what is it that you are actually solving? So I don't know all your ideas, and you're most welcome to write them in the text. Try writing in one short sentence, like literally imagine it was your email signature. What is the business problem that you're solving? I'm taking you now in the process. You're most welcome to write it, and I'll comment as it comes, as a writing as it comes through. But the point here is nobody cares about you and your business idea. You want to package your idea in terms of what business problem you're solving. And by the way, this is not easy. Sometimes it takes many iterations. Sometimes, like what we started with when we started developing online courses for small businesses across Africa, we didn't know what we are solving. I just kind of started one, started two, then a couple of professors and experts started joining in this, and we built it up. And what we are solving started developing naturally, started evolving. So what is it that you're really solving with your business? Not what you do. I'll give you some other examples just to get the brain juices going. You may have studied or are studying accounting. Well, you're not an accountant. You're not a bookkeeper. Who are your customers? What really are you solving from them? So if I was an accountant or a bookkeeper, my text at the bottom might say something like, I help small business owners to reduce the time they spend on admin so they can focus on growing the business. You see where I'm going with this? Or I help you're in marketing, or whatever the case may be, in communication. What are you solving? Now, why this is important? You want to create interest in what you are doing. Nothing is more powerful than when people say, what? That's what you do? I want to know more. I'm really interested in that. And the moment that happens, you start getting an idea of what people want. Let's say Marcel says, what, York, you do online courses for startups in the manufacturing space? Well, I actually own a manufacturing space. I'm really interested in that. Can we talk? Then I'll pick up my WhatsApp. I'll call Marcel and say, well, this is where we are. We're still in the prototype phase. We haven't really launched it yet, but tell me a little bit more about business. And if these courses existed, what would you like to see in them? So you start a dialogue. Marcel and I start building a relationship which allows me to bypass that initial phase in starting a business, especially around the commercial aspect, which is the trust deficit. All of us trust ourselves. Our friends trust us, hopefully. Our parents and our family trust us. But clients don't know us from a bar of soap. And you need to create the trust deficit. How many of you saw The Wolf of Wall Street? You remember with Leonardo DiCaprio? It was Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, it was Leonardo DiCaprio. So The Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, as cheesy as the movie was and as corrupt as he was in what he did, came up with actually a phenomenal straight line. He calls it a straight line method of sales, which is, he says, on the one spectrum, there are people who are not interested in your idea. On the other spectrum are people who are ready to buy. Don't go for the no's. You want to go for everybody slightly beyond a no, and you've got to persuade them to get to a yes. And the way you do that is people need to trust you. They need to trust that the product or service that you're selling fits them. They need to make sure that they get value out of it. And then they need to be convinced that you are not a scam fly by night, but you're going to be there to deliver it. That's in essence the journey you've got to take a potential customer. And if Marcel or Svetlana and I are starting to chat about the idea, the product, we're starting to build a bond and a relationship. They're starting to get the buy-in. And when you have buy-in, you get doors opened. One of the most difficult things for an entrepreneur in access to market, meaning finding client, is access to networks. Now, you might think, hey, I have a great idea for a new app, or whatever the case may be, a new service. Well, you might share it with a few friends, a few people you know, and they might be enthusiastic. And you might start getting all excited and saying, hey, I'm onto something. But what happens to your idea once it hits the market, once you actually need to grow it past two or three friends that might or might not buy it? You need access to market. Now, this is a reason why a lot of entrepreneurs in the township struggle a lot, because they might not have a wonderful, phenomenal entrepreneur in Deep Sloot, might not have access to clients who are in Sandton. Somebody in Alexandria might not have access to clients who are in Cape Town CBD, and so forth and so on. The beautiful thing about access to market, it's very easy to solve in this day and age, but I'll come back to that in a second. Let's go back to your value proposition. So your task is really to write what you solve. Don't be worried about sharing your idea to the world. I always think the value of ideas is almost zero. Now, I sit on an innovations hub, funding board, so we get a lot of hardcore ideas with a lot of intellectual property in it. So you could argue, well, some of those ideas do have value. But the thing here is that your idea doesn't make much difference unless you have clients. Your best defense against others copying your idea is your relationship with clients. So that's why I'm focusing so much on getting commercial traction from you. So you have your idea. You now going to type it beautifully, like Svetlana wrote, services for the elderly. Okay, that doesn't help much, Svetlana. So what is it? Maybe who are you targeting? So let's take Svetlana's services for the elderly, what I solve. Maybe it's actually, do you have grandparents who need care? Are you struggling to find time to look after your grandparents? We can help. You see where I'm going with this? You can, in the bottom of your email, write a beautiful sentence that really solves the problem. Remember, services for the elderly, I'm not targeting the elderly. I'm targeting the parents or the children who can pay for the elderly's services. So don't forget also to remember or to differentiate who is your client and who is your user of your services. So you have the idea, you've captured now what you're solving. Good. Now, all of you are probably on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, maybe Instagram, Snapchat, maybe TikTok. Now, imagine if I told you that all of these platforms are actually employees of yours. Imagine their job was to sell for you 24/7. If I asked you, how good a job are these employees doing for you? How many leads have they created? How much traction for your business idea have they really generated? And you probably, if you are like most people, would argue that they didn't do a very good job. They're really a waste of time mostly. LinkedIn, I'm trying to find a job. Twitter, cool to keep updated on what's happening in world affairs. And Facebook, sharing posts, and then all the other platforms. So I invite you with the exercise that we did a couple of minutes ago. Remember what you are solving. Cobus, I'll come to your point now. To write it onto your LinkedIn banner. So if you look at LinkedIn, at the top, there's a banner, right? In most cases, it's probably empty. Now that's a very powerful piece of real estate you can use. Every time you do something on LinkedIn, you're actually inviting people to read your banner. Now, your banner, that's a part at the top. It can be also Facebook. It's irrelevant now. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go to canva.com. You guys and girls, you know canva.com, canva.com. It's a wonderful free tool where you can create incredible things to use in your marketing efforts. And in the search button of canva.com, you type in LinkedIn banner or Facebook banner or Twitter banner or Instagram, whatever preference you have, or whichever platform you prefer. And there you'll get hundreds of templates. Most of them are free. Click on the one that speaks to you. For example, services for the elderly. That might be an older person or a family with the grandparents, and then you write what you solve. What I'm trying to get you is towards using the platform that you're already using every day, in which most probably you waste a lot of time in, to make them start working for you. Now, it's all very good that you change, and you can do this across all platforms. Because remember, people come to your profile, they read it. They're not going to scroll down and research and go to your website. Now, the trick here is that banner is a call to action to something. And so where are you going to bring the people to? Now, I saw that for example, in Svetlana, apologies, you're too busy to look after your parents. Call us now to find out what solutions we have for you. Now they click on something and they land somewhere. And this is where I invite you for your incredible business idea to create a landing page. It's very similar on a technological base to a website, but it's not a website. In our research and supporting SMEs around the world, we found out that websites are one of the most ineffective ways to find out if people are interested in your business. Because most websites are, this is how important I am, this is my background, this is the idea, this is why we named the company. There's a lot of distraction, many products and services. No. What I want you to think about is a landing page that converts. Meaning, you did the job of creating interest. So somebody goes from your LinkedIn, from your Facebook, from your Twitter, they click, they go there and we go, oh, this is me you're speaking to. Yes, I'm a small shop owner who needs to generate more money. Or I'm struggling with my children's mathematics. Or I really don't know how to do ABC, whatever. And they click on it and it takes you to a page that converts you from landing there to a call to action. That doesn't have to be more than a few paragraphs. And it's an incredibly easy, costs absolutely nothing. If you don't know how to use WordPress, go for something like Google Sites or Shopify or Squarespace. It really doesn't matter. It depends. Find a tool that fits best the service and product that you're thinking of bringing to market. Now, You call the landing page is really, that's how we call it, conversion page. A visitor was interested, your potential client is interested, and you want to now convert them. So, hey, are you struggling to look after your parents? We can help. Are you juggling? Are you tired at the end of the day to call them, to engage with them? Well, we offer daily call services to find out if your parents are well. We send them little gift packages once a week, in your name to remind them that you love them. Interested? We have multiple pricing packages, depends on your locations. Why don't you give us a bit of detail for a customized quote? Then you ask location of your grandparents, what is your weekly budget, and then you get a form fill out. It didn't cost you anything. You can use Google Forms, you can use free websites. You see where I'm going with this? I'm giving you an example where without spending a single cent, you can gauge whether there is market for you, whether there is an interest. One of the things that Anne wrote is that it's tricky to do when you do more than one thing, so multi-stream income. You need to select only one to promote yourself. That's the problem. And that's the problem with a lot of us entrepreneurs. We are all over the place. We haven't quite gotten ready yet to commit to a lifelong partner, so we're still dating lots of little businesses. Sorry about the analogy here. I'm going to get into trouble with this, Cobus, right? So I can't advise you, because I know sometimes you're not sure yet which is the business idea that will take off. But here's my experience. If your ideas all diametrically opposed, so meaning one is in healthcare, one is in food, one is in shops, one is in, I don't know, who knows what business, what is joining them together? What is the glue that brings them together? It's you, yes, I know. But what is the skill set in you that brings them together? For example, Ella says, I help distressed property owners generate positive cash flows, which is a bit of a cold way of saying, hey, are you in trouble? Do you have a house and are you struggling with the cash? I can help. You see, Ella, it's a slightly more different way to place it. Now, what I'm saying, going back to Anne, is, focus on one thing. Now, you can do it high level. So, for example, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, and then you'll see that I write Entrepreneurship Unplugged. And I then post because my passion is entrepreneurship. And then my posts are very specific to a specific call to action. So, for example, I have something called the free 14-day startup challenge. Now, that's for startups. Now, when I post that, I have a little video or a comment or something around startups. So my target market for that post isn't Cobus. It is Svetlana, it is Ella, it is, I can't scroll right now, Praneshka, and so forth. So it's not, so that specific post is speaking to you. I'm looking at you, and you are the one who I want to now go to my landing page. So Anne, maybe start creating different posts and see to which most people start reacting to. And when you see that 80% of the people react mostly to one of your 5 different business ideas, maybe that's the market telling you should start focusing. Because guys, girls, you don't have time to be jack of all trades. And this is the next part that is so important in the day and age we live in, especially in COVID time. Do you trust a mechanic who's also your dentist, who's also your interior decorator, who's also the math tutor? You probably think, that person probably knows a little bit, but do I really trust them to fix my teeth? Because also freelancing as mechanics and this. The message you send out to the world when you do everything is one of diluting your brand. Remember, we live in a very noisy world, especially in COVID, when everybody went online and is jamming the airwaves with noise, posts, in knowledge. The moment you start diluting your brand, people don't know anymore what you're good at. And when they don't know what you're good at, remember in that straight line method, they don't trust you anymore. There's something at the back of their head that says, I like what you're selling, but I don't really know if I trust you because you are all over the place. Also, if I buy your services, your marketing services, consultant service or whatever, they'll probably go, yeah, but the moment I send you the money, you're only going to spend half an hour on me. The rest of the time you're fixing cars. So my point here is focus on building your brand. You remember you created the banners, which is what you sold. Then I'm sticking to LinkedIn now. Then everything below LinkedIn should be posts that reinforce the fact that you are an expert in distressed property. And you start sharing great articles, how people who were in that situation got out of a situation, tips and tricks, mental, how to deal with the pressure and the stress, things you can do to reduce your costs. You see where I'm going with this? I'm starting to share, and I'm not talking about, you're not writing a book. I'm talking about a paragraph with maybe a video clip that you saw. You're starting to share tips, knowledge, know-how, your intellectual property that gives people the feeling that you are the person I should speak to. Never, ever underestimate people's laziness. I give so much of my knowledge away, and yet people still call me from around the world. I work mostly with governments, and they call me and say, Jörg, we saw your how to set up ecosystems for entrepreneurs, but could you come and help us? Could you consult us? Could you advise us? Don't worry about giving away your knowledge. Sorry, I see a button called Ask a Question. I don't know how to do this. Will there be a recording? Yeah, I don't know. Cobos, will there be a recording? I'm guessing yes. I can't see live. It's live, but yes, probably yes. But I'm assuming Cobos is typing. Awesome. Absolutely. Perfect. Guys, I don't know how to get there. I've got the Ask a Question screen now covering my whole face. So that's funny. Okay, so continuing. So you went from banner, you want to solicit the interest to your idea, to action call. Where is that interest going to go towards? So it's going to go to a landing page. Now the landing page, remember, it's got to be short. You're not there to sell how great you are. You're there to make sure that the person who was interested in you is now hooked to you. They're interested. And remember, I never said any time that your product and service is ready. You're still in an idea phase, right? Whereas obviously you can see that's also applicable to small businesses that just started. But this can be click here or sign up now to find out when our product will go live. Would you like to be kept up to date? Absolutely no spam. And you will get a 99% discount when the product goes live. Who's not interested in that for the first 100 people to sign up, even if you get 1,000 people signing up? So you can see Cobos was right. I drink a lot of coffee. Now, by the time people start engaging with you, you can start building a database. When you have a database, you can first go to market much quicker. When you are close to the product, you can actually launch it to a potential client base. When you have 250 people who expressed interest in, let's see if I have it, like the other day, I'm designing little stickers. If I have 200 or 300 people who are interested in my stickers, now I just send them email. I can send them an email and say the sticker is available. Click here to buy it. Or I can do a crowdfunding campaign because now I have 300 people who believe in me. Alternatively, here's another way of doing it. If a number of people, if Cobos engages on my post much more, and he says, remember that silly example that I made about manufacturing company, courses for manufacturers. We start engaging, we start talking, negotiating. Now, Cobos might have resources. It may not always be money, but maybe he has video equipment. Maybe he has an office. Maybe he has a second-hand refurbished laptop I can use. Maybe he has Wi-Fi facility. Maybe he has a room I can use for stock. Often we entrepreneurs think we need money to start a business. forgetting that there's a lot of resources in the market available for almost for free that other people are thinking are not really valuable. Here's a trick. If you need money to start your business, you take a piece of paper and you split it into needs and wants. Let's say you needed R1 million to start your business. What would the shopping list, well, write down the shopping list that you would scribble that you'd need to buy that, to use that R1 million with. Now break it into needs and wants. I promise you 50% of that money is already a want, not a need. You don't need the fanciest phone. You don't need a brand new bakkie. Give you a practical idea. Last week, a friend of mine said, I need money to buy a bakkie. I don't know how to do this because I need to transport vegetables from Limpopo to the fresh foods market in Johannesburg. I told him, do you need a bakkie or do you need transport capacity? He says, well, actually, I need transport capacity. So what we did is created a post on Facebook saying, we're looking for somebody who's traveling between Limpopo and Johannesburg 3 times a week, who has spare capacity on the back of a bakkie or is empty on the way to Johannesburg. Lo and behold, the minibus driver called up and said, well, I actually am empty on the way back. And they matched. So now he didn't have to do the expenditure of a bakkie or transport. And especially in the first days when he's cash flow poor, he can utilize existing resources on a just-in-time basis. So here is what I'm saying. That's why I say some of the most phenomenal entrepreneurs came out of resource-constrained environments. You become very lazy when you have a lot of money. You start spending it consultants, you buy fancy things, but you're not thinking out of the box. Airbnb, anybody? You know, you remember I'm not going to tell you the story of Airbnb, but if you Google the story, it was people who ended up crashing because there was no, and they developed a website, and that one thing led to another. Are you going to be lazy? Are you going to stop not having money? Are you going to stop it from making your dreams become a reality? Are you going to stop it from letting it own your destiny? Nothing should come in the way of you creating a value proposition, what you solve, of creating a converging page, and of building up the database. Also for investors, how much cooler would it be when you go to a potential venture capitalist, an investor, and you say, hey, I have an idea. And he says, or she says, okay, I've heard that everybody has an idea. What's your idea? Well, my idea is this. Okay, interesting. And do you have any potential interest in the market? You say, here's my list of 500 people who said they'd be interested in buying. Now that's so much more powerful than going to market with, hey, I have an idea. So there you have a bit of a sense. We talked about the value proposition, what you solve, and that should be at the bottom of your email signature, the banner of your Facebook. It should be across all platforms. We talked about the action, the call to action. So call us now. Click here to find out more. Does this interest you? Goes to the landing page, which you can do WordPress, Shopify, doesn't matter, Google Sites. And that landing page, conversion page, its own aim is to get you from landing to subscribing, to getting, you're not selling yet. You're not selling. And this is, guys and girls, this is one thing you got to realize. Hardly anyone ever buys straight from scratch. They need to trust you. So even if you've got a product or service that can be sold immediately online, don't. Bring them on board saying, does this interest you enough? Would you like whatever? You want to then start a journey of persuasion. You don't want to just sell a phone cover or a beautiful pen or a mouse with Ndebele artwork to somebody. You want them to love it. So you want to start persuading them. Then maybe the call to action of your conversion page is just sign up now to get 50% discount once we go live. And then when you go live, in the meantime, you say them, you send them once every 2 weeks a little picture of you painting the mouse by hand, or you designing the clothing in the back and saying, working hard at making my idea become a reality. Thank you for your support. Short, not a long blah, 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 blah. We become so oversharing. And you start building a real connection between your customers and you. And when you build a connection, you build ambassadors for your company. And that is so, so powerful, because then you can do this, and you can do a cover, and you can do a coffee cup mug. You can do much more than just a once-off sale. That goes as a whole conversation about the cost of sale. If you have to refine customers for every product, your cost of sale will be enormous. But I'm not going to talk too much about that. Now, I just want to say one last thing. And by the way, you can start asking questions. But I really want to share one piece of advice. Stop sharing nonsense. Stop sharing COVID statistics. You are not experts in COVID, neither am I. Stop sharing politicians' nonsense. Stop sharing stupid videos that add no value to anybody, or ego-driven things. All the platforms, even your private one on Facebook, has to become a salesperson for your brand. Now, I fully appreciate that maybe you have 100 friends on Facebook, maybe 1,500, maybe 5,000. It really doesn't matter. My point here is start creating and building a brand that is impressive, that is serious. So when you share COVID, when you share what Malema did, what Ramaphosa did, doesn't matter what your political inclinations are. When you share stupid, yes, it's funny at a time, but what you're actually doing is creating the impression that you're not a serious person, that you're all over, that you are a gossipy person. And I don't know you, but I certainly can't afford to start looking like a fool. So maybe with a couple of friends around the coffee, I might share a funny joke or my private view on politics or whatever. But I don't really go, I'm a bit more cautious about what impression I'm trying to create in the market. Still be yourself, of course, but try to stick, like we talked about, to something that builds your brand. Because your brand allows you, even when your business fails, and I promise you, you will go through a number of failures, but even when your business fails, when people take you seriously, they will forgive your business failure because they trust you, they believe in you, they trust your reputation. I went through a number of failures thinking that was the end of me. And people came up and says, "You're so sorry about your failure, but this happens." What happened? You say, "Well, this is why I failed, and this is da." And they say, "Okay, well done. Well, keep us updated what your next idea is. I would love to be part of it." Wow, I thought failure was me. And this is where I want you to, I understand in this phase of your business, Francois, I'll answer just now, but I understand in this phase of your business, there's no difference between you and the actual business. You're one. Because people trust the horse, the jockey, not the horse necessarily at this phase of business. And it's difficult not to take failure and feedback and criticism personally. Don't. It's not you. It's feedback. It's feedback. Failure isn't a statement about you personally. It's a statement. It's feedback from the market. It's the market's way of telling you, the way you describe it right now, we're not convinced yet. Try again. So it's just a way for the market to give you honest feedback, and you want honesty. You don't want to spend 5 years on an idea only then to discover it's shit. Sorry. Francois, any advice for analyzing markets to identify problems that they have? Well, that's a beautiful question. And I think it goes into the fact that a lot of you, except for Cobus, who I think is hitting 90 years of age, all of us are very, very young, relatively speaking. And I just generously put myself into your category. And in youth comes that poor Cobus, yeah. He's probably going to serve me decaf coffee next time we meet. So I always joke, Cobus' first girlfriend was Mrs. Pless, from the for the 3.2 million year old person they excavated in Stokefontein Caves. I'm sorry, I can't stop myself. But I understand when you're young, you have a lot of ideas and a lot of options. I get it. The world is exciting. You're still not sure what you want to do. So maybe, Cobus, we can share the 14-day startup challenge. My point here is it's okay to experiment and try different things and say, okay, what am I really passionate about? What is it that I'm interested in? What is it that I read in my spare time? And that might give you great ideas to pursue, to say, okay, how can I turn my interest into my work? Now, you may not have a clue how you go from passion, to turning that into a profitable business. And it's okay. It's a phased approach. You cannot figure out everything. You cannot figure out your business model, revenue line, exactly who your clients are going to be when you're still in idea phase. You can try, of course. But remember what I said about the market? Throw your idea in the market. See what the response is. And don't wait a week. It takes a couple of months of work. And get feedback. No, people are reacting, but are not really convinced. Or yes, wow, when I did that, people just went bananas on my idea. Feel it. One of my favorite saying is that the journey to success is composed of thousands of tiny little steps. When you take tiny steps, when you stumble on one of them, it's easy to get up. When you leap, when you're hoping for 1 million rand, 10 million rand investor, and you go from idea to big, when you make a mistake here, you fall from very high places. And that's when you burn and crash quite badly. So this is why I always advise, take baby steps. I know we're excited and we're full of energy and we want to conquer the world today, but take baby steps. Baby steps allow you to, hey, everybody, this is what I'm trying to solve. Anybody respond? Nobody. Okay, that was not good. Let's try it differently. Hey, are you struggling with cash flow for your house? And more people respond. Let's try a different one. Are you struggling with managing to pay the mortgage on your house? Yes. Now people are going, me. Oh, okay, I'm on to something. And then as people engage, you start figuring out what really is the need, the problem that you can charge time. Maybe it's tools, maybe it's your time, maybe it's just helping them understand better. And then you redevelop your product and your service, so you constantly adapt it. One of the terrible things about brands like Apple and Google and Amazon is that we see Amazon from the day Jeff Bezos started it and Amazon today. We see one name. What we don't see is that the company went through many transformations, mutations of a business model, the customers, their offerings through a process. Yet we from outside just see Amazon. It's not true. You might be Anne, you might be Cobus, you might be Francois, all throughout, but the business that you're building will constantly evolve and change. I talked a lot. I say a hell of a lot. Please feel free to ask questions. I'm very happy to be thrown anything. Cobus, maybe you have anything that you want to share that your students particularly are struggling with?
Sure. Wow, York, I am, as always, and I can listen to you hundreds of times, and every time there's some wonderful new takeaways. So in accord with your view that entrepreneurship is actually the only way that you own your own destiny. And from where I'm sitting, I also argue that it's the most beautiful of all disciplines because it transcends all the management functions and all this and so forth. So thank you so much for all of these wonderful ideas that you've shared. I think some of the key takeaways for me, and please, colleagues, if you have questions, you're welcome to post them. But that idea is to get out of your head. I find that fascinating. Get out of your head, the pilot and the prototyping, to figure out what is it that the market need. Get out of your head. And that's the tips are so practical. It's not this highfalutin, theoretical, academic. I never thought of this email signature to say, say what you are solving. What is it that you are actually solving and creating that interest? Start building the relationships, bridging that trust deficit, getting the buy-in from the market, and it's all about the access to the client. And then, of course, your example of the Wolf Wall Street in the example of the straight line of sales, fascinating. So, LinkedIn and I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and I can attest to the fact that the wonderful things that you are also sharing there, that is aligned with your brand, which makes perfect sense. So this individual brand, instead of sharing nonsense, as you've referred to it, the platforms that you use need to become your channels through which to build your brand, and that impression that you create with the market, but also to be cautious, of course, of not diluting that brand, but to rather focus on the one thing that you believe that you are absolutely good at. So that was absolutely fascinating, York. Thank you so much. Colleagues, please, okay, it says, Francois says thanks, and Shell says thanks. Thank you, York. Wonderful presentation. I love the email signature and landing page. Yeah, you see, so there's wonderful key takeaways for us all from this. And colleagues, those of you who visited here, I invite you go and visit York's website as well. I've shared a link in there on that 14-day entrepreneur challenge for those who's interested in going to find out more. But even on LinkedIn, you just go search his name, and you'll find all the wonderful, beautiful stuff that he's busy with, and living his purpose in leaving the world in a better place than what he found it to be. Any other questions? York, maybe some closing comments from your side?
Sure. First, let me just answer Ella. No, I don't offer mentorship, Ella. And the reason for that is just not economically viable for me. I see mentorship as an investment in a person. I'm actually investing my time, which is something that I value. And so just asking for mentor, I'm not saying that you're asking for mentorship, but if you ask for somebody to mentor you, what is the outcome? They're going to invest time, energy, expertise, and experience in you. You've got to persuade them in the same way you would persuade somebody to invest their money in you. And often we go, there's somebody we like, or we like their insights, but actually we say, well, what do I want from them? And this is why I suggest, Ella, don't ask for mentorship. Find the people for a specific aspect of your journey that you need help with. You don't want a mentor for life. So that's, but I'm always happy to be a sounding board. You're most welcome. If you're ever stuck on something, to drop me a message on LinkedIn. Maybe in Cobus's closing words, I spoke at the beginning about my failures. I told you that I failed a couple of businesses, and I made a joke out of it. It's not easy. Failure is not pleasant, not easy. It's incredibly hard. I told you that, don't try not to take it personally, but it's also really difficult not to take it personally. When people say no to you, to your idea, to your product or service, it's difficult. You've invested, it's your baby, you've created it, you've grown it. And I can't tell you that I have a magic formula for you to tackle life. Life is a roller coaster. You'll have ups and downs, stressful moments when you have no idea how to go on forward. All I can suggest is remember tomorrow is another day. Remember to sometimes, when it just gets too much, to close your laptop, your tablet, your phone, go for a nice walk. There's scientific evidence to show that fresh air has enormous benefits for your positivity. Don't be alone. Go hang out in co-working spaces, in incubators with other people. Chat, share. Everybody's going through the same shit that you're going or has gone through it. Don't sit alone on your space. And remember that entrepreneurship is not a job. It's not a title. Entrepreneurship is an attitude. So on that note, thank you so much for having me. Wait, you're muted.
I am muted. Perhaps people would enjoy that. You know, I often talk too much. But colleagues, again, to everyone who attended, thanks for making this a wonderful event again. York, to you, our main feature, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we look forward to our next engagement. You everyone take care and live with the mantra, as York has also indicated, tomorrow is beautiful. All the best.